Hey all, today we're going to continue talking about factoring. Last lesson we talked about factoring out a greatest common factor from a polynomial. And this time we're going to look specifically at trinomials, and we are going to be finding the factors, things like we found when we graphed quadratics. And we wanted to write the factor version, something like this, x minus 2, x plus 5. And we're going to use the graphs to help us do that. Um, Remember that factors are things that we use to multiply to make something else. So if we're talking about just numbers, not quadratics, I think I used the number 12 before. Some numbers that multiply to be 12 are 3 and 4. Those are factors. 12 and 1. Those are factors. 2 and 6. Those are factors. So these are all the factors of 12. I think I used this example when we were talking about finding the greatest factor. But what we want to find are the two factors that make these quadratic expressions, these trinomials. They're trinomials because they have three terms. And like I said, we're going to use Desmos to help us. So I'm going to go ahead and put this expression into Desmos. So here I have my parabola, my quadratic functions graphed, and I can click on the x-intercepts. Those are going to be the places where we find the factors. The factors are part of our solution. So we grab those x values, -3 and +4. So I'm going to say x equals -3, x equals +4. And those factors exist when y is 0. So we want to know, we want to set these things equal to 0. So like we did last time, we move the number over with the x. And when we move something to the opposite side of the equal sign, it changes its sign. So instead of x equals -3, I have x plus 3. And then there's nothing left, so it ends up being 0. I move the 4 over. Instead of x equals +4, I have x minus 4. And so I want to write the factored version of this. So those two things, x plus 3 and x minus 4, those are my factors. So I'm going to go ahead and rewrite them up here in parentheses, x plus 3, x minus 4. This quadratic, when I factor it, when I find the two things that I could multiply to make it, it's x plus 3 and x minus 4. And like I said in a previous lesson, if I wanted to multiply these two binomials together, I would end up back with the expression that I started with. So we can do the same thing here, 6x squared plus 5x minus 6. Let me do that. So here we have our next function. And I'm going to get some funky x-intercepts. They're not whole numbers, -1.5 and 0.667. I want to put those into fraction form because I can deal with these fractions and they're going to help me write the factors. So I can go ahead and put -1.5 into my calculator. And then I can hit this fraction button here and it can tell me what that is as a fraction. So one of my factors or one of my solutions is x equals -3/2. And then my other one was 0.667. 0.667 is a rounded decimal. It's really 0.6666, lots of sixes. So I can do the same thing. I can put a bunch of sixes in there. Oops. And then I can hit this fraction button. And it tells me this fraction is 2/3. So 0.667 is 2/3, 2/3. So I can say x equals 2/3. And now I want to solve these the same way I solved the other ones, except I don't want a fraction in my final factor. That's going to make it look uncomfortable. We want to make it nice and neat, no fractions. So I can get rid of this divided by 2 by multiplying both sides by 2 here. So I get 2x. Those 2's can't cancel, and I get -3. Now I can do the thing that I did in the first problem. I can take that -3 and move it over here, and it becomes +3. And then there's nothing left on this side because I moved the minus 3 away, so we have a 0. Similar over here, I'm going to multiply both sides by 3, that denominator. I want to get rid of that denominator, no fractions. That's going to cancel. I'm going to have 3x equals 2. And then we're going to move that 2 over. And when we do that, it's going to become negative, so I'm going to end up with 3x minus 2 equals 0. And so now we have our two factors. 2x plus 3 and 3x minus 2. Those two things would multiply to make our original 6x squared plus 5x minus 6. And we figured out what those two things were by finding the x-intercepts on Desmos. Let's try another one. And whenever you get a letter other than X on one of these practices or one of these lessons, you just change the letter to X because Desmos doesn't understand what you mean when you plug in B. So I'm going to make this 6b squared minus, or 6x squared minus x minus 2. And a little trick of the trade here, I'm just going to keep using the same thing and just change my signs and my values. So I don't have to keep typing in the whole thing. And I can go find my x-intercepts. I got negative 0.5. So if you don't know what that is off the top of your head, negative 0.5 as a fraction, you can type it in, hit that fraction button. That's a negative 1/2. That's one of my solutions. That's going to help me find a factor. And then the other one again is 0.667. Well, we just found out on the last problem that was 2 over 3. So my other solution is x equals 2 over 3. And those are going to help us find the factors. I'm going to multiply both sides of this equation by 2. And so I get 2x equals negative 1. Then I'll move that minus 1 over to the other side of the equation to get 2x plus 1. Remember, switch sides, you switch signs. And this one I'm going to multiply both sides by 3. Then I want to move that 2 over. It's positive now, but when we move it over to the other side of the equal sign, it becomes negative. So we get 3x minus 2. And then there's nothing left on the right, so it's equal to 0. And so now we have our two factors, 2x plus 1 and 3x minus 2. So what I want you to do is use these three problems that we just went over as a guide. If you didn't write them down, you might want to rewind and just go copy down the work. You don't have to listen to it again. Maybe just get the problems down into your notes or onto paper so that you can use them as a guide to try this one. So pause right now, try this one. Remember, you got to change B to X or else the calculator won't know what you're talking about. Graph this thing, find its solutions, and then use that to find the factors. Then press play and check your answer. So hopefully when you graph this, you found that the solutions were negative 9 and negative 4. The x-intercepts were negative 9, 0 and negative 4, 0. And so when you solve those two mini equations to get 0 on the right side, you end up with x plus 9 and x plus 4. Those are our two factors. Those are the two things that we could multiply together to make our original. You might want to go back and change these to b's. I didn't. If you didn't, that's okay too, because that's what we're using on the calculator. As always, if you have questions, make sure that you ask. If I happen to not be in class with you at the moment, and there's maybe another teacher who's good at math, I'm sure you could ask them as well. If not, write down your questions so you don't forget it, so the next time you see me, you can ask. As ever, doing practice is what's going to help you get better at this. Asking questions is going to help you clarify some things. Make sure you watch to the end so that you can answer the questions on these 4 problems. Do the best you can. Ask for help. Do some extra practice when you're done. When you're done with the lesson, you're not done with your learning. You need to do some practice to reinforce these ideas and get better at them. Good luck.